So you've gone from, I mean, Hello Games is known mostly, I think, for Joe Danger series, which certainly has its sort of random custom elements and things, but now with No Man's Sky, you have this entire universe that is sort of, it's not random, it's procedural, and we'll get to that.
Right.
But it seems like a really huge change for Hello Games. What inspired this?
It's a good question. Like Joe Danger is a game that we love, right? And that a lot of people really loved, and still has a huge place in my heart. And now that I've been away from it for a while, I can actually go back and play it and enjoy it. And I really enjoy it. But it wasn't what we set up Hello Games to do. We wanted to be quite ambitious. And I guess you're right, like Joe Danger is of a size that most indie games are. And No Man's Sky was something that we'd been talking about since the day like Hello Games was formed, really. And something that's been in my head for years before that. I think JD had, reviewed really well and it sold better than what we expected. And you think, well, will I do something better than that? If I go for the same size? And we kind of thought it's time to make that game that we've always talked about.
Right.
And it was called like Project Skyscraper. And that was just because we wanted to build something that was super ambitious.
Sure. It might be a good idea just to walk people through sort of what the progression of the game is. You start on your own planet, and what happens? You just wake up on a planet and off you go?
It is open-ended. It is this kind of like, sandbox to some extent. The universe is your sandbox. But I know that for gamers like myself that kind of grew up with more descriptive games, we like to kind of know who you are and what's the narrative and stuff like that. We don't have those things really. We don't tell you who you are or why you're there. We have an idea of that, but we leave that up to the player. We don't tell you that you're male or female, male or even human or whatever, right? You won't hear your voice. We
were talking earlier about how, in the demo that you showed during E3, you fly off into space and there's some faction of people taking out some freighters, and that there are these different races and factions and space police of some kind, but you don't define who these things are. This isn't like Wing Commander where you're doing battle with these people. They just exist in the universe.
Yeah, but you will end up doing battle with them occasionally, right? You can't avoid that. Some of them will instantly take you to be an alien in their universe and attack you. Some of them will attack you just because you're not following what they see as their protocol or whatever, or you're invading space that you shouldn't be in. And I really like that when I play the game, those things naturally happen and naturally emerge. And sometimes you're just not sure why, and you start to have to learn a little bit more about the universe. And I think we've become really good at telling you everything you need to know about a game before you play it, to the point where you pretty much know how it starts, you know where you'll be in the middle, and you know how it'll end. I mean, like I played Watch Dogs and I actually really enjoyed it, but I had watched like 13 different videos about it before I played it, and there was so little surprise left for me. And I think we want to leave that a little bit for the player. This is a game about exploration, not in a kind of an ambient way, not in like a way that is just laid back and boring, right? In a sci-fi way, which is kind of adventure and discovery.
That as you explore the universe, you discover new forms of life, plants, animals, new planets, and you name them if you're the first person to discover them. Because there are other human players out in the universe that you won't run across too often, as you've explained to me, but you can name any creature that you find. Are the creatures procedurally generated too?
Yeah. And so are the ships, and so are the buildings, and the terrain is, and all the foliage and everything.
Okay, so like the brontosaurus creatures that we saw. Brontosauri don't exist. That's not a real dinosaur anymore. But those kinds of dinosaurs, like you might see something like that on another planet, but it's going to have a different appearance. It'll be a different species. That's wild.
Yeah, that's the whole, the whole point when we say procedural. We are building up sets of rules. We actually create a prototype. So that dinosaur, there will be a prototype for that, which an artist will build. And then if you imagine like an MMO or a sports game or something like that, where you can create your own character, and I spend like forever trying to create myself in there, and it looks like nothing like me, right? But you can change, you know, your size, your weight, the length of your legs, whatever it is, right? If you imagine that system, but we do that for everything, right? So we do it for every type of tree, every type of creature. So you can create a dinosaur, and some of them will then naturally have really long necks, or have longer legs, or wider, or totally different colors, or have horns, or whatever. So we're kind of freeing ourselves from those bounds of content, of having to create so many different variations. The system just kind of does that for us. There is like a group of people that I'm in love with, that are growing up with Minecraft right now, and DayZ and things like that, and Minecraft's the first game they've ever played. So.
Sort of game that you lose hours with it and you're not really sure why.
Yeah. And somebody tries to, you know, friends of mine who, you know, like those more traditional games or whatever, and I try to turn them on to like DayZ, and they just can't grasp it. They're like, why are you playing it? And you explain it, and then they still say, but why? But you know what? When, you know, how do you finish it? How do you complete it, or whatever? I feel like games has gone so far in this direction that it's almost like a response to that. You know, that you want to swing things back a little bit this way. I mean, I still love a lot of the AAA stuff. I'm still excited walking around E3, but I also like crave something different. You know, it's like you've been eating meat non-stop, and you're just like, mind some salad. You know?